Hello and welcome to Scholars Hub at Home. I'm Sonia Sichoria, York U's Alumni Career Coach. Thank you for joining us for today's session titled The Quest for a Great Place to Work. Before we get started, I would like to take a moment to acknowledge the land I am on. Because we are not all gathered in the same place, the land I'm about to acknowledge might not be for the territory you are on. Please take the responsibility to acknowledge the traditional territory you are on. As a member of York University community, I recognize that many Indigenous nations have long-standing relationships with the territories upon which York University campuses are located that precede the establishment of York University. York University acknowledges its presence on the traditional territory of many Indigenous nations. The area known as Tookaronto has been caretaken by the Anishinaabeg Nation, the Haudenosaunee Confederacy, and the Huron-Wendat. It is now home to many First Nation, Inuit, and Métis communities. We acknowledge the current treaty holders, the Mississaugas of the Credit First Nation. The territory is subject of the Dish with One Spoon Wampum Belt Covenant, an agreement to peaceably share and care for the Great Lakes region. Now, we would like to conduct a quick poll before the session begins. The question is, how would you rate your knowledge regarding the topic of today's presentation? The poll should pop up on your screen now. I'll give you a moment to respond. Thank you. This helps our speakers learn more about our audience. Oops. If you need help with the Zoom webinar, feel free to click on the Q&A button at the bottom of your screen and enter your question. Our team is ready to help you. The same button may be used to submit questions for our guest speaker to answer during the Q&A period. You may enter your questions at any time during the presentation. Please note that all your questions and comments are visible to our panelists and staff working behind the scenes. We ask that you keep your comments relevant and respectful. Now, I would like to introduce today's speaker, Assistant Professor Dr. Anirban Kaur. Dr. Kaur is an assistant professor in the School of Administrative Studies in the Faculty of Liberal Arts and Professional Studies. An award-winning teacher and researcher, Anir has worked in businesses in various roles for over a decade before making a career change into academia. Welcome, Anir.
Thank you. Thank you, Sonia. Thank you for those kind words and the introduction. Thank you, Jenny, for organizing the Scholars Hub. Let me
Great.
share
Yeah,
my screen.
and I'll be back for the Q&A.
So thank you again for this opportunity to share about this study. Hello, viewers. Thank you for your time. So in this study that I'm about to present, we try to find answers for when do employees perceive an organization to be a great place to work. And I was so glad to note that there are a few of you who have a very high knowledge about this topic. And I'm looking forward to your comments and questions and the discussion that we'll have at the end of the presentation. So we were intrigued by this question, given that, for many of us, our work consumes a significant part of our lives and have a substantial impact on our well-being, and also given the implications for organizations' reputation, especially in attracting and retaining talent. You would be aware about this practice of ranking best, happiest, most admired places to work for by leading business magazines. Uh, it's increasingly popular practice. Organizations strive to be on these lists and extensively broadcast such accomplishments. And actually, existing research into these practices as well as media commonly label organizations on such lists as great places to work. Uh, and actually, that set of organizations have been studied, and it has been observed that they do enjoy a few competitive advantages, such as being able to attract and retain talent, have engaged employees. They also seem to be exhibiting more resilience and able to draw customers and investors and build an employer brand and overall perform better financially. So it's not surprising that there's quite a bit of interest around this concept of great places to work. And actually, recently, a few organizations are also trying to gain a form of legitimacy by getting themselves certified as a great place to work, which has given a new life to this concept. And the Great Places to Work, which offers this certified, is actually an institute which is at the forefront of doing consultancy and research in this area. And also, the organizations which are aspiring to get themselves certified or to be on this list are also, in a way, thinking about the purpose of the organization and uh, thinking about doing good for their employees and society. So, all of these uh, are the context which also propelled us to do this particular study. Now, however, our understanding of what is a great place to work and what factors lead to it are both limited and a bit muddled. For example, Enron, one large power utility company based out of California, which was once a darling of investors and in quite a bit in the media. Lehman Brothers, those of you who recall the global financial crisis of 2008 would remember that this company went under as a fallout of that global financial crisis. However, both these companies were consistently rated as a great place to work until almost the year before their demise and layoff of all employees. Google consistently features at the top of the lists of great places to work, although employees who have quit Google are extremely critical of the organization. And likewise for McDonald's, they are also there, right there on top of the list of this best places to work or a great place to work. But they are dealing with multiple lawsuits from their employees. Now, what do we know about great places to work? So the literature on the antecedents, what leads up to great places to work, is actually a bit fragmented. It's a bit idiosyncratic. It's a bit overly prescriptive. And there is not much of theoretical grounding. Actually, the Great Places to Work Institute, which is at the forefront, as I mentioned, they suggest and advocate that a culture of trust, pride, and camaraderie among employees is the key to a great place to work. And then there are several other studies which have tried to narrow down on the key factors that contribute. And it's like all over the map, mostly about organizational support and initiative related issues. Now, such a laundry list is actually a bit problematic on two fronts. One, first, there is a tendency to suggest one size fits all, which is kind of inadequate and simplistic, considering that differences across individuals in how they make sense of these factors, the varying ways in which an individual makes sense of the same factor over a period of time, and also the subjective nature of sense making. And also given that there is an increase in diversity in modern organizations, so it may not be effective to pin down and prescribe a few factors that might lead to a great place to work. The second issue is that the causal core, or exactly why the enumerated antecedents make an organization a great place to work, is not well understood. And also, the prior research into great place to work is has not developed a rigorous construct or understanding of the concept, and at best, it has been defined using the antecedents. So, this led us to conducting a study. And what exactly did we do? So, we did three studies. In study one, we spoke to people who were working in organizations and asked them about what was their understanding of a great place to work. And we also dived deep into the literature about what all factors uh, could be representative of a great place to work, and proposed a rough model. And we kind of touched based or bounced off the model with the interviewees, and we obtained qualitative data. So, with the help of the inputs from that study, we hypothesized a model that is representative of a great place to work, and then tested that model by developing measures for all the key elements that were identified in the model, and administering surveys, initially pilot and then subsequently in three different waves, and then on a different sample, and then also doing a scenario analysis in order to gain confidence in the results that we were obtaining from this quantitative study. And finally, we conducted a third round of detailed, in-depth interviews, and especially with uh, those who had a long period of service in organizations, in order to gain a deeper understanding of what the results were indicating from the quantitative study. So now I'll share with you the sense that we made of the data and how we have represented that in a model. And I'll be speaking mainly to the results uh, obtained through study two, that is the quantitative study through surveys. So we came up with a factor psychological state outcome framework, where the outcome for our model is employees' perceptions of a great place to work. And what we found is that per, uh, the feeling, the sense of the meaningfulness in work based on the relationship of the work that a person is responsible for, and a meaningfulness about the work environment in which that work is situated in, were strong predictors of their perception of a great place to work. And then the meaningfulness in work was based upon the perception of fit the persons felt about their work, as in the congruence with respect to their uh, knowledge, skills, and abilities vis-a-vis that demanded from the work. And with regard to meaningfulness at work, what seems to predict higher levels were the perceptions of fit with their supervisor, with their peer groups, and with the organization's culture, structure, purpose, etc. We also observed that the orientation towards work, as in if the work was perceived as a calling something that one's purpose in life is, if the work was perceived as that, then the salience, the importance of meaningfulness in work became more in predicting the perception of great place to work. And the salience of meaningfulness in work decreased if the orientation toward the work was more like it's just a job that I'm doing to pay my bills. The other thing we observed was that the perception about importance of work also influenced which one of these two you considered important. So in case you perceive that your work is your self perception of the work is that it's not so worthy, and there is a term in literature called dirty work. You perceive your work to be one of those normated by society as dirty. And examples of that in the studies in that field is like housekeeping or oil and gas exploration. And these are the labels that were put in that body of knowledge about dirty work. So there, those persons were laying more emphasis on meaningfulness at work uh, that they get from the environment in which they work. Now, I'll now focus on each one of these. So we did a thematic analysis of the qualitative data, which is the interview transcripts, and exploratory and confirmatory factor analysis, structural equations modeling, and multiple regressions for the quantitative or the survey data. And we found two key characteristics that define employees' perceptions of a great place to work. One is a strong preference for that work and workplace, and second is a positive affect towards that workplace. So employees generally perceived that they would want to, if they rated that place as a great place to work, they would continue to work in that organization, even if they have an opportunity to move to another one, and that they think that their work and the workplace have most, if not all, of the characteristics that they value as important. And secondly, they also exhibited more enthusiasm, engagement, pride, uh, and emotional connection and enjoyment and excitement to go to work at this place. So that kind of is the conceptualization of what is a great place to work. Meaningfulness was denoted by the deeper purpose that the employees felt about their work, and in work meaning in the work that they were responsible for, which is kind of close to their identity and the question, what am I doing? In contrast, meaningfulness at work was more about their sense of belongingness, as in the answering the question, where do I belong here? Do I cherish here? Can I be myself here? And we did find strong evidence for the relationships that we hypothesized for the fit with your work, with meaningfulness in work, and then a fit with your supervisor, your peers at work, and the organization's culture, structure, uh, purpose, etc. And orientation towards work also, we found the results were as we predicted. What we found most interesting and significant was that the meaningfulness at work was the strongest predictor of a perceptions of great place to work. So was person organization fit. And uh, another piece of indication from the data that surprised us is that we found the person group fit is actually not a predictor of perceptions of great place to work. In fact, there is a reverse relationship, which is actually even statistically significant. And we got this result like time and again. So which got us scratching our heads. It was not what we had expected, but then I'd love to hear also your thoughts as to why uh, fit with your peers is not that significant a predictor. So how we asked for this was we asked the people to share their sense of matching of or congruence with the work ethic, the work values that they had vis-a-vis their colleagues with whom they were interacting on a daily basis, who were their immediate work group. Uh, but somehow, if that was strong, then the perception of great place to work was weak. So, which was a very interesting and counterintuitive finding. So, the key takeaways are that this model overall supports or is representative of perceptions of great place to work. But if something that we need to pay more attention to, then it would be a meaningfulness at work, elements of that, and leaders need to give sense to their employees and check in with them about meaningfulness work at work, and also make sure that there is a high degree of person organization fit. And we have now scales to measure all of these concepts, and which can be done on a regular basis to gauge where the organization is with respect to each one of these parameters. So with that, I will stop. Thank you so much for your time and listening in, and I now look forward to your questions and or comments.
Great. Thank you so much, Anir. That was quite timely, and we encourage you to use the Q&A function to ask your questions, and feel free, you can stop sharing your screen, Anir, that might help. But oh, great. And one of the things, we do have a couple of questions that came in advance that we'll also take. And, one of the ones that I was thinking about is, again, how timely your chat is, because I recently wrote an article for the Alumni News around December and what happens in December, and it tends to be a natural pausing point in the job market. Things tend to quiet down, but it's a really good time for individuals to reflect about their career trajectory and where it is that they want to go. And you've given us the data and certain attributes to really think about as we move forward. And I was wondering, from your perspective too, now that you've done this research, what makes an organization a great place to work from your perspective?
Well, I will go with where the data is taking us, and we do find two key characteristics: a preference and an affect and emotional connect with the organization. So, and which actually is very interestingly, so that is kind of a description of what a great place to work is. But if we look at the strongest predictors, which is person organization fit, so there we find that employees are really concerned about the purpose of the organization. What is it and why is it that they are in the business that they are in? And if that is aligned, uh, it seems that that is contributing a lot to this perception of a great place to work. So, which has very large societal implications. So, I am kind of drawn to that aspect of finding of this research, that organizations take organizations and think about what is it that they are doing, why is it that they are doing what they are doing, and what impact they are having on society and the world in general. So if you ask me, that is one dominant characteristic in my mind of defining what is a great place to work.
That's great because, from a researcher perspective, using the word alignment, and then from a career coaching perspective, we use the word clarity, getting clear on your goals and your intentions and where it is that you want to go. So finding that, it's very much overlapping, just using two different terms to arrive at that. Okay, great. So a couple of other questions are coming through in the chat. So the first one is, did you find any role for wellness programs at work? Example, employee benefits that include mental health benefits. So perhaps was this a factor that was considered in the research that you conducted?
So, first of all, thank you for that question. So, the approach in our study was to move away from prescribing factors to look more at alignment, as in what people wanted vis-a-vis what they were getting from the organization. If there was
Mm.
an alignment in that there was not an expectation deficit, how much did that contribute to the perception of a great place to work? Um, Now, so wellness programs would be a part of the constituent of organization fit. If the person considered wellness program to be high on their list of priorities, the person would have perceived that there is adequate organizational support, and they would have rated that high. So while I cannot exactly specifically answer that question about whether wellness programs at work played a role, but I think that so the way we asked the questions was what was important to the respondent, was that available in the organization or not, that kind of support. So so my answer would be it depends on if a person considers wellness program to be important, and that being available is what matters. So first, the first level probably to get to this would be to find out what exactly is important for a person and whether that is being available. So that's kind of how I'm responding to your question. So we didn't have a specific question about whether wellness was available, measures for mental health or wellness was available in your organization.
Okay, that's helpful. Thank you. And then the next one more so reads like a statement, but let's see how this is a question. So, value proposition of a job perceived by individual or labeled by the organization, especially when tech AI is taking over the job. Are you able to comment on the value proposition of a job? Was that considered at all?
Not in our research, but I do know of current work that's happening, which seems to suggest that AI is in a way enriching our job, as in what there are some studies which are indicating that it's not mass replacement, but the parts of our job that we didn't like, which was routine, is now being taken care of by automation and supported by AI. So the kind of jobs that we are doing is more complex and more perhaps more fulfilling and enriching. So that would be my comment, and I'm not exactly sure what Harris means by value proposition. Um,
Yes.
yeah. So I'm interpreting that as job enrichment, which seems to be the case with tech and AI contributing, participating in the job, and not. It seems some studies seem to be suggesting they're not displacing, but they're enriching the work.
Definitely enriching, changing, different factors, different attributes again, right? Okay, thank
Right.
you. And then there's another question here. Is there a correlation for H1 and other factors?
Uh, Harris, thank you. That's an excellent question. Yes, indeed, there is a very strong covariance between a meaningfulness in work and at work, and both seem to be uh, contributing to the sense of how each one is perceived. We are not very sure about the direction. From in the third study where we did in-depth interviews, it seems to be suggesting that early on in our careers, we what is more salient for us is meaningfulness at work. It's more about the work environment. But as we take on more responsible positions and when we are in middle or top management, it seems that we are paying more attention to meaningfulness in work. Um, So, in that sense, uh, that's kind of what we are seeing right now. So, there is a very strong correlation between or covariance between meaningfulness in and at work. And I mean, Harris, if you have the opportunity, you mentioned, is there a correlation H1 and other factors? So, I am thinking that you're talking about meaningfulness in and at work and its predictive power to employees' perception of great place to work. Please correct me if I'm misunderstanding your question. I see. So Sonia, I see another question
Yep,
from Harris. If I may
yep,
just take,
we'll move on.
yeah.
Okay, sure, go
So he has a question about how much an organization or manager help with employee perception. Yes, that's a very critical point. So, leaders, employers uh, are sense givers. So the employees are so engaged in the day-to-day activities that sometimes they don't realize the significance of what they are doing. And it now behooves, or it is the responsibility of the manager to highlight how they are making a contribution. I mean, for example, if you're working in a factory on a shop floor, let's say in an aluminum plant, you're near the furnace, it's a hot environment, there's a lot of noise, you're cut off from daylight. So once in a while, you have to be reminded that the output that you're producing is helping so many lives, it's contributing to so many different products, it's facilitating so many things, it's earning so much revenue, income for the business, etc. So, in that sense, an organization and manager does have to actively play the role of a sense giver and time and again help and reinforce the significance of the work that the employees are doing. So, meaningfulness in and at work, um, it really it to a great extent is a realization of the deeper purpose and a sense of the importance of your work, getting an idea about uh, how exactly your work is contributing to the larger, the grand scheme of things. So those things, those on the shop floor may not always be thinking about. So once in a while, it needs to be reinforced. It's good if it's reinforced. So that would be my answer, Harris.
That's great. And that's a good segue to the other question, actually, which is based on your research. How do we as employees versus as employers contribute to a work environment that people feel happy to work in? Is there a significant difference in what we should prioritize?
And Sia, that's a great question, and it just reminds me of a comment that Sonia you made at the start of the Q&A. So when we are thinking about and when we are embarking on selecting a career path, this model perhaps helps us to think through about and ask questions about how well do we fit with uh, the organization that we are purporting to or we are wishing to work for, or if we are working in an organization, how well do we fit in here? And there are very practical tools. There are some questions that you can ask yourself, which will help you to realize how well you fit there. And so, what we are finding, your perception about fit, and whether that's, at least at times when you reflect about it, you think that your work is meaningful, makes a sea of difference. And if you think that that's exactly where you're supposed to be, you have a good fit with your supervisor, with your, it seems not so much with your peers, but with your organization's culture, uh, you will be experiencing more meaningfulness, and which will then again be be projected in your work, which will rub off on your co-workers. And so you will have a positive influence on them. What I didn't share, uh, another extension of this study is we are looking at the outcomes of, if you are experiencing higher meaningfulness in and at work, you do behave more uh, as a good citizen of that corporation, which means you go beyond the call of duty, and you make contributions, help others. So you are a significant contributor. So uh, as employees, I would prioritize making an assessment of, is this organization a best fit for me or not? And if it's a good fit, you will have high levels of meaningfulness, and you will contribute to that work environment in a very positive way, and make people feel happy to work there. So if there's one thing that if I would want to prioritize, it would be to make an assessment of how well do I fit in that organization, and there are tools to make that those assessments.
That's great. I'm curious to hear more about those tools because, as a career coach, I'm often tasked with helping individuals with finding their on their quest for a great place to work, and I have to empower everyone to become their own researcher and really do the deep dives on their, top 10, 15 companies that they really want to learn more about to hear what's happening right now and how employees at that organization feel the future direction is going. And is that somewhere that they feel like is aligning with them and is fitting with where they are right now and where they want to go as well? Because as we know, things change so quickly right now in the labor market. That's great.
Yeah,
Okay,
yeah, we
one
can
more
connect.
question.
Sorry, yeah, go ahead.
Yes, yes, for the tools, that would be great
Yeah,
because
yes,
I'd love to learn a little bit more about that as well. And the other
right.
question is, how many people were included in your study?
So in each study, we had a different sample size. The largest study was, of course, conducted in the quantitative one, which involved a couple of pilot studies where the sample size was, in one case, about 200, in another case, about 300. Then in the first main survey with the main sample, the size was around 500. And then the survey on another sample was around 1,000. There was a particular organization that we were doing some action research for. And then with regard to the qualitative side, the total number of interviews would be around 80, 80 plus, from whom we gathered data. Yeah, that is an idea about the sample. Also, the samples were mostly North America based. So one thing uh, we were a bit surprised was how much the work environment mattered, was far more significant, given there is a perception that the North American culture is more individualistic than let's say, in Eastern parts of the world where it's more collectivistic, but it does seem for a great place to work, uh, collective fit and meaningfulness is important. Yeah,
That's
sorry, that was
great.
just a slight digression. Yeah.
No, that's great. Thank you. And that's the end of our Q&A. So thank you, Anir. That was fantastic. It was great for me, even personally, to hear some of the practical research and data behind some of the work that I support every day. And that was a very engaging Q&A as well. So thank you so much for your time and your talent and sharing your information with us today.
Thank you for the opportunity. Yeah. And Harris, I
All right.
noted, yeah, you can get my email on the website, our faculty profile, and just you could reach out there. Harris made a comment that he might want to discuss more in detail. Yeah,
Oh, great. That's wonderful. Okay. And it looks like he
yeah.
already has your contact information.
Yes,
That's wonderful.
right.
Okay,
Yeah.
great. I will move to our closing remarks. Thank you again. A recording of the video will be posted on our YouTube channel. Please see the link in the chat for more details. And we have one more poll for the audience. How would you rate your knowledge of today's topic following this discussion? Scholars Hub will be back on Wednesday, January 21st, with more exciting and engaging discussions specifically designed with your interest in mind. Stay tuned for details on our next guest speaker coming in early January. Before then, local alumni are welcome to join us in person on Thursday, December 11th for our alumni mixer in Toronto. A great opportunity to mingle and reconnect with other alumni, whether you graduated recently or many years ago. If you haven't received the invitation, our team will share the event details in the chat. We would love to see you in person. We look forward to seeing you at the next Scholars Hub at Home session. Thank you all and be well.